Welcome to the Nosebleed Seats. I am the Mad Conservative Crime Fighter. We're flashing back to 2009 on this edition of the program, and joining me in the booth this week, Mystical Arachnid Vigilance, member 5706.
Here we go, Independence Day weekend, and the Dixieland Destroyer celebrating that by wearing an American flag on his face, obviously.
American flag, or the Confederate flag.
It's an American flag of sorts, right? It's his America. It's what he believes is America. Someone told him that they lost the war, but obviously I'm not going to tell him that. I don't think you're going to tell him that either. So.
And apparently we've got political correctness running wild, as you probably saw the Dukes of Hazzard Auto Trader commercials, and they're hiding the Dixie flag on the roof for some, I guess they're trying to not offend a certain group.
Because obviously people who are into the Dukes of Hazzard and who are going to buy those products would be offended by that. So yeah, political censorship from the left is just as bad as censorship from the right, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about another man. We're talking about a man that used to be known as Ryan Phoenix, no longer known as Ryan Phoenix, but this is a flashback episode. He retired recently as Waylon Beck, but he is Ryan Phoenix going against a family member of his as a later time, Dixieland Destroyer, his quote-unquote cousin Dixie. But these guys have always been tight. They practically are family, so we got a family feud going on here.
Yes, this team was known as Southern Bloodlines, but they had a split. And another piece of news, you know how long retirements last. Well, Ryan Phoenix, now known as Waylon Beck, came back to action at IWA Midwest recently against his girlfriend, Serenity.
Wow, we had an intergender match up there, eh? That's something else. I tell you, Ryan Phoenix, Waylon Beck, whatever you want to call him, never officially announced his retirement in front of the fans. I think it always was meant to be a break, and there's a break right there. I'm surprised he didn't retire after that big clothesline from the Dixieland Destroyer.
I think pretty much his retirement was from Dreamwave Wrestling, where he had that brutal match against Dan the Man to, I guess, conclude that long-running feud between those two individuals.
And Ryan Phoenix almost knocked out to the outside of the ring. He's taking a beating right here. Dixieland Destroyer has been in firm control. Ryan Phoenix, those punches aren't meaning anything.
This particular matchup under the tent was held right in front of the old Kix restaurant, which is no longer in business, in Southern View, Illinois. The lone time that Great American Wrestling traveled out to Springfield to run an event.
Yes. The now defunct Great American Wrestling, no longer running. Sometimes there's a resurgence of those guys. Those guys are still going to be wrestling. In fact, a few of them wrestle to benefit from Maya.
That event will be taking place at Sliders at 5995 US 36 in Decatur, Illinois. It'll be a fundraiser event for Maya Ullman, who lost her life after battling multiple health issues.
There's so many shows, so many events going on, Central Illinois Wrestling, that it's hard to keep them all together. Speaking of which, the day after benefit for Maya in Granite City, Illinois, Stroke Ain't No Joke, a benefit held by TNT Kenny G. It's going to be happening in Glen Carbon. Several wrestling shows that day on July 12th. Dreamwave is also running, I believe. PWG in Moreau, Illinois is also running, so there's your pick of the litter of shows on July 12th. So come out to the benefit for Maya on July 11th, and please support independent wrestling on July 12th.
And Dixieland Destroyer gets 2 feet worth of Ryan Phoenix off the ropes. Oh, caught him there.
High flying has never been something that really stops the Dixieland Destroyer. Even when he's on the ground, he's able to counter moves, I've seen.
Here comes the Umaga Splash and a knee to the face combination. Well, this week is Independence weekend. Not much going on in the Central Illinois wrestling scene. All that went on was Hulk Hogan's Micro Championship Wrestling on July the 1st and the 3rd, but by the time you see this broadcast, it's probably in the past.
I tell you what, July 4th, I'm broadcasting this right now. I'm going to head down to the Atomic Cowboy in St. Louis, Illinois, and see Clownvis, the king of clowns, get shot out of a cannon. He's been preparing for months. I'm going to see Clownvis shot out of a cannon and live music by Bruiser Queen. So support local entertainment, independent wrestling, or otherwise. There's always something to do if you just look for it.
Phoenix off the ropes, clothesline. You mean East St. Louis, not St. Louis.
I mean St. Louis, Missouri. It's happening.
You said Illinois.
Oh, I did say Illinois.
Oh, wow. Look at this. Look at this. He's picked him up in a Death Valley driver. And it's it. That is it.
Quite a devastating maneuver, a Death Valley driver, compounded with all that weight that Dixieland Destroyer's carrying. I think it was more Dixieland Destroyer's weight that outdid him than anything else, just being dropped onto that neck. That's almost like having his full body weight dropped onto one part of his body.
Normally, Ryan Phoenix has that fireman's carry and does the Death Valley driver in the corner, but he couldn't do it with this big guy. We'll be right back.
Introducing first, all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina, weighing 215 pounds, it's Mr. J.
Now we're in Decatur for Pro Wrestling Next, which is also no longer in existence, but here comes an old friend of ours, New Midwest original, Mr. Elite Jake Manning, now the host of $5 Wrestling and a ambassador for highspots.com.
Yes, he does a lot of things there at High Spots. He's pretty much the face of High Spots these days, if not running it. I believe he'll probably end up running that company one day with as much as he does for it.
Mr. Elite Jake Manning, also known as the Man Scout. And another high-intensity individual, Mark Sterling from Kansas City, member of the Kansas City Killers, along with Jeremy White and Mike Seidel. And if you've been paying attention to the news, Mike Seidel's brother, Matt Seidel, has been released by WWE. Evan Bourne, now a free agent.
We're hoping to see him in the St. Louis, Missouri area on either side of the river very soon. It remains to be seen if that's going to happen.
Yeah, Evan Bourne, Matt Seidel, is now a resident of Tampa, Florida. He no longer lives in St. Louis, but maybe he'll move back. We don't know.
Even if he doesn't move back, there's all kinds of outside talent that comes to Dynamo Pro and St. Louis Anarchy and the various promotions. So, looking forward to maybe him being in town.
And I have to assume he's going to come visit because he's got to have family there still.
I'm sure.
At least to visit his brother.
Now, when I said St. Louis, Illinois earlier, that's from that silly 01 wrestling announcer constantly billing Dangerous Drew Thomas from St. Louis, Illinois. Now, I believe it's an actual place. It's so close to Illinois that I barely can tell the difference.
He's confused, that's all there is to it. I mean, geography wasn't his, I guess not his strong suit, but
I don't like maps. That's where
I'm talking about the announcer, not you, but yeah.
Geography was never good for me either. I skipped it. I took European history, so I wouldn't have to take geography. It wasn't a requirement at my high school.
That seemed to have been. Geography was something I was really good at. And Elite takes Sterling into the corner and a clean break. You know, we're looking at these matches from 2009. The wrestling landscape from 2009 compared to 2014, vastly different. Most of the players from 2009 no longer exist. It's just shocking how much has changed in the past 5 years.
Some of them for the better, both people moving on to bigger and better things, and some of them, it's fortunate that they've moved on to future endeavors.
And Dreamwaves began 5 years ago, in 2009.
The landscape in 2009 around Central Illinois wrestling was kind of bleak, to be honest with you. There wasn't as many promotions. A lot of them were dying off. But I would say the outlook of the independents in general is much better right now across country than it was in 2009. I think there's kind of a rebirth of the indies. Everywhere you go is almost a solid show. Even the shows that are a little more lackluster are even better than they were in 2009.
The only promotion I can think of that's still standing from 5 years ago is Supreme League of Wrestling under a different name, 01. But Supreme, but I don't know, you never know what's going to happen 5 years from now. What is the wrestling scene going to look like as Mark Sterling has a hammerlock on Mr. Elite.
Almost a second near fall there. This has been a pretty straightforward wrestling contest right now. Even though Sterling's in a pretty bad mood, he hasn't exhibited any rule-breaking behavior so far.
Pretty much a stalemate here at Skywalker's. This was the former site of the MBS Pro Wrestling Training Center. Guy Smith and Blake Steele are taking students in Springfield at the JC's Activity Center now.
Speaking of 5 years ago, the MBS was about the only place you could really find training around Central Illinois, and even Chicago didn't have a lot of training. Now there's a plethora of training opportunities you can go to. I know Bear St. Pierre is training some folks after the 01 shows. Guy Smith and Blake Steele are training people in Springfield. Michael Elgin has started his training camp in St. Louis. Harley Race has started in the St. Louis area in Troy, Missouri. So there's plenty of places you can train nowadays. Vastly different levels are financial starting points as well.
Sooner or later, IWA Unlimited will resume training in Olney once they get their new facility up and running. They're still working on the building in Dundas.
Now, I believe at this point, you talk about Central Illinois promotions no longer existing. We kind of count IWOW under our Central Illinois umbrella, even though they're farther south from us. I believe at this time, IWOW and IWAP were still one promotion and had not split into two yet.
Right.
It's known as just IWA Productions.
Well, IWA Productions just was in its infancy. Just a few months old. They started in late 2008.
It had just started. That is split into IWA Productions and IWA Unlimited. IWA Unlimited produced, didn't produce several talents, but gave several opportunities for wrestlers such as Matt Cage, Christian Rose, Danny Cannon, Alex Castle, Oliver Kane, and several others to ply their trade on a nearly weekly basis, which is hard to find in any place for wrestling in the Midwest, where you can wrestle almost every week.
Well, right now, 01 Supreme running pretty much weekly. United Wrestling Coalition almost every week now. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, bam, bam, bam. People are... Somebody wants a full-time schedule. They're getting a full-time schedule at least.
It looked like Mark Sterling tried to land on his feet from that monkey flip, but wasn't quite successful. And Jake Manning was able to capitalize with the arm drag into the arm bar, looking for a submission and perhaps even a pin here.
Jake Manning with a wrist lock on Mark Sterling. And drops an elbow, working on that arm.
That arm bar works that shoulder, and then he dropped the elbow on Sterling's elbow. It looks like he's trying to hyperextend his elbow now too, so he's really working over the whole area of the arm. Reversed into a hammerlock. This is a submission maneuver. You don't see it used as a submission very much. I think there's respect among the guys in the pro wrestling, the sport of pro wrestling, but you can easily break an arm. You don't really want to break a competitor's arm if you can help it.
Torque it far enough, yeah, it will give way. Certainly guys like Brock Lesnar have broken arms using the Kimura lock. I don't think that was the Kimura lock, but...
It was a hammerlock, but a hammerlock is just as effective as a Kimura lock. You used to see Luthez use that lock that Brock Lesnar used behind the opponent's back. It wasn't known as a Kimura back there. Oftentimes you would hear old commentators call it a key lock.
Mark Sterling with those forearm shots to the back.
People like a more high-impact style now, more strikes, so you don't see some of those holds like hammerlocks and Kimuras even anymore, but I assure you they are highly effective. A great up and over by Jake Manning, back into the arm bar.
And the host of $5 Wrestling in control of Mark Sterling. Your thoughts on some of the things with $5 Wrestling of late?
Well, I haven't watched $5 Wrestling of late, but I think Jake's creation is really popular, giving him quite a name. I think even though the wrestling is meant to be not the best and meant to be a kind of a joke, it's made a star out of internet sensation Freight Train, who languished in the independents for years. No one gave him a shot, and now he's having a chance to wrestle all over the country. So I think it's a niche audience, but I think it's provided a great opportunity for someone such as Freight Train, and I think it's a positive thing all around.
Oh, shot to the back, the lower back, and Jake to the floor. And Sterling gonna go after him. Sterling with a stomp. Stomp on the floor.
Stomping on that chest.
And Jake, well, there's no padding on this gym floor and no give. And he's gonna dig that boot in the midsection of Jake Manning.
You notice Sterling really not cheating as of sorts right now. He needs to be in the ring. He's just being more aggressive. So this has been a pretty sportsmanlike contest so far.
Well, Sterling's just a brawler. He's just a brute force type of wrestler. He doesn't have to cheat. He just will bully you.
Well, you notice even that elbow or that forearm to the back of the head, he's using the flat part of his boot. These are all legal strikes. Now we get into the closed fist, which is not legal on the independents. It is legal in the WWE, I've been told by WWE referees. But in many pro wrestling contests, a closed fist is still illegal, and including this one right here.
Well, I couldn't even figure out the last time anybody's ever been disqualified for a punch.
Well, I know Tommy Dreamer was disqualified by Bill Alfonso in ECW for using the punch, which, unlike many people did not believe this, there were actually rules in ECW, they just were not enforced.
Probably when it was called NWA Eastern Championship Wrestling.
No, there was a disqualification on ECW TV on the national network when Rhino did a run-in one time and did a spear. It's just a matter of whether the referees decided to enforce the rules or not.
So every match in ECW wasn't hardcore rules, I guess.
Hardcore Rules is something that came along later by the WWE standard when they saw what was happening in ECW.
Now here's a camel clutch. Now Sterling doesn't have this hold correctly applied. You want to have the legs extended outward so all that pressure is on the lower back. But because Elite's in the kneeling position, he can stand up with Mark Sterling and back him into the corner to break that hold.
Well, I think the intention of that hold was to more put the weight on Jake Manning to wear him out rather than actually stretch the back. Mark Sterling knows what he's doing here, and he had an intent for that hold to be put in on that way. I'm sure you noticed the way he was sitting on Jake Manning, applied extra weight on him. That makes you harder for you to breathe. Now he's grapevining the legs around Jake while applying a sleeper hold. I think that was really to maybe take some of the wind out of him. If you can't breathe, you can't wrestle.
Well, Manning up and hits a jawbreaker on Mark Sterling.
A desperation move, blocked the punch, kick to the stomach. Here we go. Telegraphed that move too much, and a beautiful drop kick by Mark Sterling. Not enough to put Jake down.
And there's the hot shot.
Did not quite catch him on his neck like the classic Eddie Gilbert hot shot. Caught him right across the gut. Maybe he's going to be going for some kind of an elbow drop, I believe, Jake. No.
Flying headbutt, nobody home.
Swan dive headbutt. Not unlike Harley Race used to do.
2. Sterling thought this was over. Sure to check the schedule for the following weekend. Nothing going on in Central Illinois wrestling for Independence Day weekend, but July 11th, 12th, 13th, things pick up again. Only a 2 count. And a stomp to the hand.
Mark Sterling is now bending the rules. You can't grab the ears like that. I think Sterling's getting more frustrated as this contest goes on.
Another shot to the small of the back. And a chin lock, rear chin lock. Oh, an elbow strike to the nose.
See, that's just dirty. Unless he was looking. See, now Mark Sterling is clearly cheating in this contest.
Yeah, the gloves are off. Brute force not working, so he's gonna take a few shortcuts.
Now, as we have seen, I don't necessarily care whether you cheat or not, but Mark Sterling has started this cheating because he realized he is not good enough to beat Jake Manning without getting those cheating techniques in, which is fine, but it must be acknowledged.
Elbow to the side of the head on the apron by Sterling.
Another elbow there, real quick. Sterling getting frustrated with the crowd. They're not liking his rule-breaking tactics, and they're letting him know that quick, kind of a nonchalant cover. Didn't put all his full weight across the shoulders, nor did he hook the leg.
And there is well, they call it a surfboard, but it looks more like a jet ski to me. Putting the knee to the back and spreading the arms out.
Not quite a surfboard. The guy has to be laying down. Kind of a modified version of what you call a surfboard. Just a back stretch right there.
Or a butterfly armbar, as I like to call it.
Well, butterfly armbar is actually from the front, which is what Blake Steele uses as his finishing maneuver, or MBS Wrestler of the Year currently. He's literally working over that neck. That's the, I think, the 3rd or 4th time we've seen that forearm to the back of the neck. That's how he kind of gained control of that. A big flying shoulder block from Jake Manning. He's kind of getting
some momentum together.
Some momentum finally, yeah.
2 straight body slams.
I think he might be trying to go for another top rope maneuver. He's got to wear him down enough for that, though.
First up there.
We've got these guys on even footing. It looks like a modified bulldog, like a face crusher. Big lariat. That could be it right there. 1,
2.
Not quite. Jake, unlike some of our wrestlers in the area, like a Dixieland Destroyer you saw on this area, or on this program earlier, can't quite use that lariat as a finisher unless they get a lot of running momentum going and they're fresh. Jake not fresh at this point. He's taking the elbow pad off, though.
And Sterling has him caught.
A fireman's carry into a spine buster, jackknife pin. Oh, but a kick out. I surely thought that was over. That was quite a combination there. You don't see a fireman's carry into a spine buster into immediate pin much like that. Jake, seeing the technical side of Mark Sterling, who's been brawling much at this point in this contest. We did see an exchange of holds earlier in the matches, but Jake was in firm control until that forearm to the back of the neck that sent him to the outside.
Sterling gonna see if he can polish him off here.
We're going to go for a power driver or a power bomb maneuver. Jake doesn't have enough in him to stand on his own 2 feet. He's got enough to kick out, but not stand. What do you do if you're in that situation like Sterling is right now?
Gonna pick him up. Jake, kick! Face breaker, neck breaker combination.
Jake there again showing his technical prowess and reversing the maneuver.
Oh, close. Sterling barely beat the 3 count. And Jake is hurting. That back has been worked on, off and on, throughout this matchup.
He's really kind of working the back and the neck. Especially with that spine buster combination. You land on the back of your head. It could almost be called a neck breaker as well.
Jake trying to pick up Sterling by draping the arm across the neck, and Sterling not wanting to stand up.
Break of the eyes. Clearly cheating. Clearly knowing Jake has his number at this point. A power maneuver.
Full Nelson slam.
Oh! Was not able to put him away with that full Nelson slam. He's clearly got the power advantage on Jake Manning, able to pick him up like that. But that maneuver was not enough to put Jake away. He's still got some left. Sterling, you don't know what to do at this point. You could try to put him in a submission maneuver, but Jake's already shown that he's a superior technical wrestler in this contest. You can't cheat too much or you'll get disqualified.
Fireman's carry.
Scary, maybe going for that spine buster again to the corner.
Is the ropes. Pick up. Backbreaker.
Perfect shot. 1, 2, 3.
Got it.
Perfect shot, mic check, whatever you want to call it.
Stunned him long enough to get that 3 count in a long contest, 18-15.
We almost had ourselves a 20-minute contest compared to the 4-minute contest we had earlier. This match was more 2 technicians against one another as opposed to a guy just trying to survive, big man, in the previous contest.
Well, Jake Manning victorious here at Pro Wrestling Next, and we'll be back with more action next week here on the program. Don't know what I'm going to feature, but it should be cool, as always. I'm the Mad Conservative Crime Fighter. He is
the Mystic Order of Arachnid Vigilance, member number 5706.
And we'll see you next time here on the Nosebleed Seats TV. Enjoy the fireworks and play it safe this holiday weekend and celebrate America.